I've come to the conclusion that I have made a great deal of progress in my survival tactic of having lost my son. It has been a great deal of anguish to lose him. Yet, the challenge of overcoming this challenge has prompted me to do two things I never conceived I could be capable of doing. I overcame my fear of death, due to old age, the aging process, and I've overcome my fear of living without him. The anguish of living without him has been huge, yet I've managed to figure out how to do this. And it's the strangest thing because it's been so stressful that I've had to learn to manage the stress. And I've overcome that. And it's a two-step solution. To nourish myself with a humongous amount of silver in the most efficient way possible, and to mask the consequences of that humongous absorption of silver by continuing to pursue massive absorption through the skin, but slow down the absorption through the gut, because I end up reabsorbing the silver but in the wrong form. When the silver that I absorb through my skin reaches my gut, transforms into a form I can't handle, and so I mask that area, the gut, with a waxy substance, beeswax, so that I can live with the consequence of bathing in silver hydroperoxide with MSM and continue to bathe. But that two-step process helps me focus on slowing down the aging process and living with the consequence of that breakthrough in what Becker has provided us, but he didn't pursue because he was only going after emergency cases. He wasn't going after a change of lifestyle. He died of pneumonia, and according to Rosemary Jacobs, did not pursue colloidal silver like the rest of us in the colloidal silver community do. So I took that pursuit that he avoided to its maximum potential and deal with the consequence. What happens when that bioavailable silver reaches the gut in such huge quantity? And I'm such a sensitive person. I have such a sensitive gut. How do I live with that? And I discovered that what I'm doing with beeswax, ingesting it, is actually vindicated on a government website. National Institute of Health website, NIH, talks about an article of slow release of silver. When you embed silver in wax, in beeswax, it has an antimicrobial effect. If you coat a plastic container or utensil, or let's say a container, I think they said a container, with a layer of beeswax in which silver is embedded in the beeswax, it has an antimicrobial effect. Well, it has a slow release mechanism effect. So when the silver that I absorb through the bath reaches the gut and it transforms into the wrong kind of silver, a silver chloride salt version of silver, which I know is wrong. Silver salt is the wrong way to take silver. Yet my stomach changes the very silver that I absorb into a form I should not be dealing with. And so I simply keep up the coating of my stomach with beeswax so that I don't get that consequence. Instead, I get a slow release of those particles of silver as they move along my gut, as the food goes through, brushing the wrong form of silver out of my gastric system. So I'm literally trying to avoid absorption of silver in my gut because that's the wrong way to take it, and instead encourage the absorption of the right form of silver, ionic silver, through my skin, in combination with high levels of MSM, sulfur, because sulfur absorbs not just silver, but absorbs mercury as well. It helps to take the mercury out of this physiology, something a little underappreciated value to sulfur. It wants to form cinnabar with mercury, mercuric sulfide, known as cinnabar. So all of this procedure that I've come to, I realize I'm not going to change anything trying to get Kyle back. And he's happy where he is, right? And he's going to be happy in the ignorance of not knowing where he came from. So it's not a question of what's best for him. It's a question of, I don't need to solve the problem. It's a problem I don't need to solve. And in the course of having lost him, which is a humongous tragedy, I've solved the tragedy of how do I live without him in such a way, so completely, that if I don't get him back, it won't be the death of me. It won't be the end of the world for me, which is what it was just a few years ago. Just a few years ago. That doesn't mean I get to go back together again with his mom, because she was the weakness that my brother used to get rid of Kyle. She was very vulnerable to him. I could deal with my brother easily. Blindfolded, I could deal with my brother. That's why he was so frustrated with me. But with her, he found an avenue of approach to destroy me and vindicate himself. Aha! I can be victorious against Vinyasi. So I've given him the victory that he thirsted for. Hands down. Scot-free, Lickety-split. Without a care in the world. Even though I feel he's the architect behind this second birth record. I really do feel that. But there's no reason to pursue trying to fix it by getting Kyle back. I know what the truth is. And apparently that's good enough. So I'm going to take down Kyle's website. And I'm not going to pursue paying a private investigator to vindicate my allegation that there is a second birth record in the name of the Connolly family, because I don't need to. And I'm not going to pursue a lawyer to pursue that PI investigation further in court. I don't need to. I don't need the personal vindication of getting my son back. I don't need to. Because he doesn't need me to take him back. And I don't need me to take him back. And nobody else is asking me to take him back. It was my idea. I was the lone wolf in this. Crying, the lone wolf crying out, whoo, how, hoping for my mate to come back to me. I'm the only one crying. I'm the only one whining. It's amazing. I can eat a ton of fudge. Everything I've accused the Connolly family of has really been my own problem. Not my fault, but my problem. I've been dumped on by people close to me in my own family. Their problems that they can't cope with. And I've managed to process all that shit. Because that's all I've ever been in my entire life, as a garbage collector of other people's shit. And the shit that I collected was from within my own family. And sometimes that happens. Children get abused. In my case, it started out with neglect. But then, in my protest, I ended up drawing too much attention to myself, such that my abusers, who neglected me, turned into my accusers, who dumped even more shit than I had already been dumped on. It was like wholesale dumping time. It isn't necessary for me to fix it. And you know what was the turnaround for me? Watching a video last night called The Cove. And when I saw the Japanese, the segment, the specialized interest segment of the Japanese population killing themselves with mercury because they've got to show to the world that they can stand up to the West, to the Westerner telling them what to do and what not to do, actually, and they will go on doing it anyway with a vengeance. They're just killing themselves. That's all they're doing with mercury poisoning. They feel so defiant they've got to eat dolphin and destroy the dolphin population single-handedly. Yet, it's not doing them any good. It's just destroying them. So as much as I believe, or had been believing in taking Kyle back, it's not doing me any good. Directly, but indirectly, it's done me a tremendous amount of good because I've learned how to cope with stress. And the biggest consequence of stress is the acceleration of the death process, of the aging process, because that's what stress does. It stressed Flipper in captivity. And so the trainer of Flipper, the Flipper TV series, went back or changed sides and now is trying to save dolphins. Well, stress was destroying my tooth decay by accelerating it. And I had to take bone meal to leave my son's mother. And stress drove me to make changes in Leon Ernest Eamon's biocircuitry using interleaved capacitors to get my chakras to phase lock into each other, to experience sleep so deep, it was even deeper than what Leon Ernest Eamon had ever experienced, or anybody else who does biocircuitry has managed to experience. Extremely deep, just by using an interleaved capacitor. And eventually I could experience 2.5 hours of samadhi. It was uncanny. But it was too ethereal. I had to switch to something more physical. So I went to Becker's research, Dr. Robert O. Becker, and I managed to modify his research and make it so efficient that I have to deal with the consequence of my efficiency by eating beeswax, which normally nobody does. And I wouldn't have to do it. Yet, it's a good thing, because it destroys mental illness. So I've solved 2 problems. The aging process. I'm going to die, now. A happy man because I won't have to die prematurely due to accelerated aging. I'm not going to live like Methuselah. I don't expect to. But at least I'll get my dignity back by not living a horrible remainder of my life by aging too quickly, because that's what my cats did. They aged so fast that they died within 2 years. 2 years is all it took. Antifreeze poisoning is devastating, but I took on way too much karma. So this protest started long before Kyle was ever born. It started between me and my stepfather, not knowing that the protest actually involves my mother because she's the one who picked him. But I didn't know that yet. Yeah, I didn't. It took me a while to figure that part out. I kept forgiving her, I kept ignoring that was the problem. But the fallout was that she married him instead. Instead of not marrying or just waiting a little longer and marrying somebody else, or just giving up trying to solve the problem by marrying somebody new. Because she wasn't going to solve the original problem by marrying somebody else, because she kept going in the wrong criteria, and I've already covered that. Under Psychology 101, that's right. I haven't posted that video yet. You don't solve your problem by trying to replace your father or your mother, whoever it is who you never made peace with, because you will never find the right person to replace that parent whom you've never made peace with. It won't happen. You simply make peace with them, even if they're dead, and you get on with your life. So, the fact that I've lost my son, I have to make peace with him. And I've managed to do that, because I've managed to figure out that I can cover my penis with a penis wrap soaked in colloidal silver and MSM, and wear a penis wrap for the rest of my life, despite the fact that I may never regenerate a foreskin, because I don't have the guts to cut off my penis. Like some people, like one person did. He cut off his thumb, kept it soaked in colloidal silver, and he regrew what he cut off. He replicated Becker's research. But I don't have that gall to do that. So I simply keep my penis covered, and I get back some sensitivity, and I protect it from abrasion, which is the most that I could hope for, because I don't have the gall to bleed. I have enough of a bleeding heart. I don't need to bleed my body as well. You'd have to be pretty sturdy and psychologically stable to be able to do what Becker did on purpose to yourself, and I don't know the guy's name, I didn't commit it to memory, but he knows about silver hydroperoxide, the value of reacting silver with hydrogen peroxide. And he knows it so well that he knows the chemistry behind it as well. And his webpage got taken off the internet, so somebody has had to repost it. You can look it up on archive.org. If I knew the name of the guy, I could tell you where to look. But at any rate, so I've managed to vindicate that I'm not the only one who knows the value of silver hydroperoxide. But it's not something to ingest through the mouth. It's something to absorb through the skin, just like we don't drink chlorine or Clorox, you know. We bathe in it. We sterilize our tap water with chlorine. Likewise, I put it in my bathtub to sterilize the water so I don't get the wiggly syndrome by soaking for an hour or two in the bath. I don't get parasites in my ear, in other words, because I'm, bathing with well water, so I get to kill off all the parasites and get the value, the benefit of absorbing bioavailable, nutritious silver in the form of an ionic silver. So you see, this is a very complicated solution, but I've managed. I can really accredit it to TM to give me the bounce back and the adaptability. Two things that I've noticed ever since the antifreeze poisoning back in 2003 is that regardless of what happens around me, the destruction around me, I bounce back and I adapt. And those two things have saved my life, those two psychological qualities. Because those two psychological qualities make it possible for me to go on and evolve despite all the failures and succeed in areas I could not have foreseen ahead of time. Sufficiently to satisfy my heart, which is what matters, right? So that's what I get out of this beeswax. I can eat fudge with impunity. Massive quantities of fudge and make a dinner and a lunch out of it. And enjoy it. And run to the bathroom and brush my teeth. With Ecodent and floss and orally hygiene my mouth with the water pick with dilute silver hydroperoxide with MSM. The only other place I use silver hydroperoxide with MSM besides the bath is in my water pick device to irrigate my mouth. But, it's absolutely beautiful. So, Kyle has a foreskin. At least he was born with one. So I honor and respect that by keeping my penis covered at all times. And I've managed to slow down the aging process slower than it's ever been. Hopefully. At least it feels that way. Because 3 times a week, I'm going to take one right now, I take a bath in silver hydroperoxide with MSM. And today I'm going to try to think up what other recipe I can do. I think I'll do the cheesecake recipe idea with a little morsel of beeswax. So I want to look for an efficient way besides macaroni and cheese to get beeswax into my diet, because I don't want to have to live on macaroni and cheese alone, or just swallow little morsels of beeswax, which I can still do, in between meals, and that's totally legitimate too. So I'm enjoying myself in ways I could never have imagined. It's like being reborn again, because I took an interest in cooking when I was 15. I took out all my mother's cookbooks and I started baking. But I got onto bread, which is kind of boring. But cake, fudge, desserts, now we're talking. So I revived my interest in desserts. Something I never thought I could enjoy with impunity. With impunity. So it isn't just the beeswax. It's what I do in the bathtub. And what I do when it comes time to, hygienically clean my mouth. It's those 3 areas that I've excelled in beyond my wildest dreams, and I never could have imagined I could have excelled in those areas. So Kyle, if you ever see this video, because this is the only video I'm going to even mention you that is going to be retained, that I'm not going to take down, I'm going to put up, because I'm giving up trying to get you back. Because it's not worth it, and it's not even necessary. So that the foster mother won't be able to claim that if you come to me, due to any kind of effort on my part to get you back before the age of your 18th birthday, she won't be able to claim, oh, I kidnapped you, because you came to me and I failed to return you, to return him to you, to his foster mother. Because I don't need him. So I'm going to take down his Facebook page, take down his website, take down the YouTube channel devoted to him, and just go on with my life, because I've fulfilled myself enough now. I can live without him and live without the pain, and because I've learned how to remove the pain of the anguish of having lost him and not having him with me in his childhood. And I don't need to replace him with a substitute. It's truly amazing. It's truly impressive what Transcendental Meditation has given me, the ability to bounce back and adapt. Something I didn't think I was capable of. So I've had this parallel track of trying to get him back, and in the course of that, I've done other things I didn't expect I'd ever do, that I had to do, because I have to take care of myself. Nobody else has done an adequate job. Yet I have managed to do an excessive job in succeeding where others fail. Because I have very peculiar problems of stress-related problems that I've managed to solve, that I've had even before Kyle ever came into this world. I've managed to solve them, including the ones that happened after he came into this world. I've solved all of them, all the major problems, with a daily routine of how to take care of my physical self that is so admirable that it boggles my brain how efficient it is. It takes a little extra work, but it's doable, you know? We live in a technological age. It doesn't cost a tremendous amount of money to do it without the help from insurance. And yeah, it's technical. It's got some details, but I've worked them all out. I made all the mistakes and I've worked it all out. Technical solutions, technical details, technical challenges is all they are. Because I stand on the shoulders of other people. You know, I didn't come up with this use of silver or electricity. You know, grounding, earthing, etheric weather engineering of the bedroom. You know, there's a few things I haven't mentioned. I do all these things and it helps me cope. So it's amazing what I've managed to do. It's amazing. And I'm impressed, even if nobody else is. So I can live without you, Kyle. I can safely say that now. With a clear conscience. Without any guilt of parental irresponsibility for having never bothered to try to take you back. Because I saw that as a failure on my part as a father. How could I have possibly let it happen for me to lose you? And let everybody, including your mother, convince me not to take you back, even though I wanted you back. How could I have done that? I felt it was irresponsible on my part. Well, I can live with myself now, from having failed you, Kyle. I can live with myself. I can live with myself. And I'll never know what it was like to raise you. Oh, it's still a pocket of grief, but I can live with it. And it won't be the death of me. And it won't be the slow death of me by some acceleration of aging due to stress or due to poor management that I'm sure my father went through, or else he wouldn't have died within a year of my mother leaving him. He died of pneumonia. Well, actually, he had a pneumonia as a complication. He died of an aneurysm, I think it was, to be treated for that pneumonia. They were rushing him to the hospital. So, you know, those kinds of things won't kill me. And the stress of losing Kyle will not kill me. So, I don't need him back. I can live with it. I can live with the separation. And whatever evil is going on, it's not going to be the death of me either. So let it continue, you know? hey, I know I'm gonna have to let the Japanese fishermen kill themselves with mercury poisoning, despite their insistence on killing off the dolphin population that swims past their little cove, the Kaiji Cove on the coast of Japan. I can live with that and do nothing about it. And I can live with losing Kyle. I can live with that too. And it won't kill me. Hallelujah, amen. Peace be to you, brother.